Hi everyone, and thank you for everybody who has subscribed to my channel. And if you haven't, please subscribe now so you'll be notified when my new videos are posted. And also thank you to everybody who continues to share my videos and comment as well. I'm always very glad to hear and read your comments. Today I want to speak about the St. Patrick's Day Junket Festival that's nearly upon us. It's interesting because the Irish government today and the Cabinet have signed off that 38 senior ministers, including the Taoiseach, the Taoiseach and the Attorney General, will travel to 40 countries around the four corners of the world and over 90 cities, all at our expense. So this was a priority for the Cabinet today, to sit down to decide who was going where. They probably were drawing straws inside Leinster House over the last number of days, rather than dealing with the multitude of crises we're facing domestically. Only yesterday, the people were finally reconnected with their power in some parts of the west of Ireland following the fallout of Storm Elwyn that happened well over 2.5 weeks ago. Absolutely disgraceful. But the government during that period didn't see it fit to come back to Leinster House to discuss these pressing issues facing the people of Ireland. Neither would they discuss the major issues impacting them around immigration, around the housing and homeless disaster, or the health chaos where we have a lack of 800 public health nurses currently in Ireland, and so many people suffering in silence because of all the government's policies. But of course, their job was to look after themselves and the boys and girls on their gravy train that they call the Irish political classes. Now, 38 of these ministers will travel, as I said, to the four corners of the world. And what's interesting is Micheál Martin wants to hand over a ceremonial bowl of shamrock to Donald Trump, the new US president. Now, this is interesting because Micheál Martin has not yet received an invitation to the White House. Of course, it'll probably be incoming, but I'm sure we'll wait and see how that develops over the next period of time. Maybe Micheál Martin will be left with egg on his face around the invitation to the White House. And of course, the pressure will come on not to go to the White House as well from a lot of people in Irish society. So let me know what you think in the comments whether Martin should or should not go to the White House. I have my own view on it in terms of the hypocrisy of the Irish political establishment. Rather than serving the interests of ordinary people, they're more interested in travelling around the world, all at our expense, to try and proclaim they are selling brand Ireland and corporate Ireland. All they're doing is cow it down and down to their political masters, and really bowing down to the interests of the multinationals and the big corporations, rather than building a strong domestic resilient economy in Ireland. But of course, who do they serve and what interests do they really serve? So maybe Martin mightn't get that invitation after all to the White House, and leave him with some egg on his face. But it was interesting because last year Leo Varadkar went on a weeks-long junket to Washington DC, and subsequent to his trip to Washington DC, he announced his resignation. So maybe the same outcome might fall on Micheál Martin when he arrives back from Washington DC. Here's hoping. But what's also interesting with this coalition of chaos is the amount of people who are traveling to the United States. Simon Harris also was going to the US and will travel to Philadelphia and New York. So watch out, New York, if you're there. And also we have 8 other senior government ministers heading across the United States to try and sell brand Ireland and soften up and use our soft power on the US regime. You could not make this up. Probably have the worst case of politicians that we could possibly send to the United States will be going to the United States over the next number of weeks. And what's also very revealing with this is the people and where they'll travel to. So let's go through a number of the government ministers and where they'll be travelling to, and see what sort of straw they drew when they're going on their junket, all at our expense. Paschal Donohoe will head to Germany. So perhaps maybe Paschal didn't quite do as well as he hoped, but perhaps he might be working with the big bankers over there, all in the interests, of course, of brand Ireland on our expense. And what's interesting is Norma Foley's not going too far, only to London. So maybe Norma was in the bad books with a couple of the political leaders. And we have Jennifer Carroll McNeil, who will go to New York and Chicago alongside Simon Harris, our Minister for Health, and our health in complete chaos. But of course, Jennifer Carroll McNeil is more interested in selling brand Ireland abroad and not talking about the health chaos when she's abroad. And we have James Brown, who will head to China, who's the Minister for Housing. Maybe he might stay there and do us all a favour. Ross O'Fallon, the Attorney General, will go to Michigan and Montana, the government's top legal advisor. It's interesting why he'll be travelling anywhere, but who am I to ask a question? Because the political elites have spoken. This is what's important, not Storm Elwyn, not the immigration chaos, sorting out the junkets for the boys and the girls. And what's interesting also with this is Robert Troy will go to Greece and Cyprus. Maybe he's looking for more properties over there, Robert Troy, who was failed to declare a number of properties he had. So maybe he's going to look at a few properties. And also, one for you as well is Alan Dillon. Alan Dillon is Fine Gael Junior Minister responsible for local business and said that local businesses are the lifeblood of all of our communities, which I fundamentally agree with. But unfortunately, Alan Dillon is heading off to Vancouver, probably working with a few vulture funds over there to bring them back to Ireland and rip off more renters with the housing disaster. Not interested in local business or small businesses whatsoever, Alan Dillon. And Verona Murphy will head to Switzerland. Of course, on our €255,000 a year salary, we'll go off at all our expense to Switzerland. Maybe, perhaps, she might learn about neutrality when she's over there. Verona Murphy, who was put into that position, of course, as Count Corla by the Kingmaker himself, Michael Lowry, who will probably be taking charge of Ireland when all the other politicians are gone. So God help us all over the next period of time. But it's just absolutely despicable that these politicians, time and time again, are heading off at our expense while we have so many domestic crises here and dealing with the issues that we really face, ordinary people face every single day of the week. And it's not just the politicians from Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, it's also the independents that are travelling. Kevin Boxer Moran, the independent TD, who's signed up to the programme for government. And Kevin Boxer Moran will be heading off himself across to, let me see, Portugal. Kevin Boxer Moran will be heading to Portugal. Probably nice weather this time of year, all at our expense. This is just a complete and utter farce and taking the complete really fools out of the people of Ireland because of what they're doing. But again, listen, this is what the political establishment represents. They're only interested in serving their own and lining their own pockets rather than serving the interests of ordinary people. And will sell the image that it's so important to do this, to sell Brand Ireland and meet our diaspora. Of course it's important to connect with our diaspora, but they're doing it under the front of being proud to be Irish. And these are the people who are absolutely not proud to be Irish because they're selling out our sovereignty. They're selling out so much about our Irish history, culture, identity, and even our resources have been sold off as well to Brussels. But of course, this is the narrative they present, where we're all in this together and we're all putting the shoulder to the wheel and we'll all support each other. So don't fall for any of their spin or nonsense that you'll hear over the next number of weeks. The only interest they serve are themselves, the interests of big business, the billionaire friends, the corporations, and the multinationals and the private equity firms and the bankers. That's all they're interested in, not the needs of ordinary citizens. So please, if you like my videos, please subscribe, and thanks for everybody who continues to share my videos. So until next time, I'll see you all soon, and Slán. Take care.